Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1965. We're going to be taking a look at Gerry and the Pacemakers, and they're going to be playing through You'll Never Walk Alone. And I'm going to let this play the whole way through. It's only 2 minutes and 41 seconds in length, so we'll get these guys up on screen and see how they get on.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, for your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you never walk alone. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never
And there we have it. What an anthem, what a song all round, but also a live performance. Gerry absolutely nails this live, and it is such an iconic song. The connection that we have with Liverpool Football Club, we had the Hillsborough disaster, unfortunately, and this really did sum up so many people's emotions and feelings at the time of coming together, and this was one hell of an anthem in order for people to express and get together, thousands and thousands of people to sing along, just in the memory of those that were lost on that day. The thing about this song that Gerry Marsden performs it so well here live, it will fly under the radar because of how well he performs it and how important pitch is with this particular composition, because there are so many notes that are being held here. So if you were slightly flat or slightly sharp and you didn't have control of your vocal and control of vibrato, then it wouldn't work, because people would be thinking about the sharp note rather than the message and the lyrics of the composition and the performance that you're giving, and there wouldn't be that connection. But the way that Gerry performs this, again, I'm gonna really highlight the fact that this is live, and he gives himself the guide of the guitar chord at the beginning so that he knows where the pitch is, and this starts in C, I believe, so he's straight in there with his vocal, but he knows he's going to be on key. But this is the kind of thing that you know it's live because he's giving himself that chord to then get into the vocal. And I know the recording quality isn't amazing, but the performance is. And it's one of those things about watching old recordings. You forget about the quality as soon as you start listening to the performance because it's so good. Your brain doesn't say to you, oh, this is a good performance, but the quality of recording is a little bit off and not very good. By the time you've listened to this for 10 or 15 seconds, it doesn't matter that it was recorded on tape and that it's a little bit wobbly here or there. I think everybody would agree, especially here in the UK, that this is one of the most emotive songs that you can listen to. And if you have been to a football stadium with thousands of people singing this, it doesn't get much more emotive than that. But why? Why is this song so deep? Why does it connect on such a deep level? And there are many reasons for that regarding the lyrical content and the story behind the song. When you sing it together in a crowd, you get that sense of belonging, but musically there is so much in this. Like I said, 2 minutes and 41 seconds here, but so much is in there. The original composition, the journey that we go on, not only with the chords, the backing, the arrangement, but the melody of that lead vocal. When I mention about the arrangement as well, it is so spot on in this performance, and for the recorded version of the song, you don't even notice when the band are coming in, and when we go from the arpeggiated chords on piano, then into the strings, and when the drums come in, there is so much that gets added in here. But because of the performance and the song and the connection, you don't notice, and that is just the hallmark of an amazing composition, that you're not aware of the track changing because you're so invested in the journey. You're just along for the ride and you're listening to the lyrical content and you're connecting with the singer, with the performance. When we start to break this song down, it's originally from a musical called Carousel, and that was from Rodgers and Hammerstein in 1945. Taking the composition, we've got all the usual offenders in there. We've got strong melody, but we've got journey and we've got crescendo. We've got changing in pitch gradually in the lead vocal, and this is a massive part of the performance and taking you on that journey. It's something that I've referred to in many other hits that I've analysed on this channel. But here we get a great arrangement that complements the vocal so well, and you have the same journey in the chord progressions underneath the vocal as you get in the melody of that lead vocal. Once you have all of those elements, add in strong lyrical content and a singer who can emote with their voice, you've got an unbeatable combination. So I'm going to be analysing this and referring to particular notes. I'll be explaining it as I go, just so you guys can get an appreciation of the journey musically that's happening when we listen to this composition. You can always relate the notes that a vocalist is singing to climbing a mountain, because you've got the low notes are at the bottom of the mountain, and the highest note that the singer's going to sing in that particular song is going to be the peak of the mountain. So you want to take people on a journey that gradually goes up this mountain, and sometimes you want to let the audience lose their grip and just fall down a little bit and then bring them back up again, getting into the notes and the fundamental journey that Gerry takes us on within the composition and with his voice, which just connects so much as well. He starts off at C3, and I'm talking about notes here that he's holding for a long time. So it's those notes that stick in your memory, and even if you don't know it, these notes are getting stored by your brain. So it means that if he goes higher than the previous note you've heard that was held for a long time, it's going to have an emotional impact on you because it's going to be more dramatic. It's just one of those things, everybody's brain stores these notes, but you don't realize it. So as we go through these held notes, we're starting on a C3. And as we progress a little bit further, we then have a jump to A3. So it means we've gone C, D, E, F, G, A. So we are now so much higher already than we started. So we've been taken on that journey at the beginning of the song. We then go to B3, so we're a little bit higher than we were. Then we go to C4, so we've now gone up a little bit higher. And then we're going to be at D4, and again up to E4. So we're gradually taking steps up and up and up. Then on the journey, we have a little fall. So imagine losing your grip on the mountain, but then catching it again. It's exactly the same as what happens musically in this song. We go back down to C4, and then we're back up to E4. And at this point, E4 is the highest note that we've heard and the highest note that our brain has stored. So at this point, we have another little fall, but then we're at C4, we go back up to D4. Then we go up to E4, and the crescendo, everything's in the song now. We're hitting the chorus for the high note, which is the G4. And we've never hit that note in the whole song getting up to that point. That is the chorus. That is the tagline of the song that everybody knows, that top note, G4. A massive thing to understand about compositions and vocal ability and range of vocalists is that it doesn't matter how high you can sing, because everybody out there watching this video who is a vocalist will know that G4 isn't actually that high when we're talking about the male tenor range and high Cs and getting up to C5, which is a note that I've mentioned on this channel. We're below that here, quite a way at G4, but you don't even know that because of the journey we've gone on and the way that Gerry's voice sounds. This composition and Gerry as a vocalist is a fantastic example to everybody out there that you do not have to sing high and force your voice higher than you can go. All you need to do is rearrange a particular song if you're doing a cover so that your high note is your high note, the one that you can sing, and then you can't get any higher because you will have the range below that high note in order to make a journey out of that song and the composition. So a great lesson here. So to all of those people who might already sing or might want to learn to sing, and they'll try and sing a song that is well out of their range, and they'll say, oh, I can't sing. It's not that you can't sing. The song you're trying to sing is out of your range. If you brought that song down into your range, then you'd be able to sing it. And that's why everybody out there has got such a unique voice and have got their own sound, but they're trying to sound like other people and sing in other people's ranges. It's not about how high you can sing. It's about connecting with an audience, with your singing, regardless of the notes that you are singing. And I guarantee you that people will connect with somebody's voice a hell of a lot more when they're singing in their comfortable range than someone who's trying to force out really high notes and they're not quite reaching them and they're flat. Of course, there's nothing wrong with working at your voice if you want to increase your range to give you more of a peak to your mountain vocally. You can do that, and that will mean that those higher notes now sound comfortable. That is the point, that you've got to work at these notes in order to make them consistent and to not make them sound like you are forcing them and that you can't reach them. Once you can reach them, those are genuine notes now within your range. So you can work at your voice to give yourself a higher peak. As you may already know, or maybe you don't know anything about Gerry and the Pacemakers, but they were around at the same time as the Beatles and really closely linked with them, playing the same venues in Liverpool, hence the connection to Liverpool Football Club and this particular song. Having experience as well of going over to Hamburg, which is the same thing that the Beatles did at the same time, playing in the same venues over there, getting that on the road experience of playing in so many different venues. Just to explain how they started, it was Gerry with his brother Fred in 1959 that teamed up with Les Chadwick and also Arthur McMahon, and Arthur was replaced in 1961 by Les Maguire. Something that Gerry and the Pacemakers achieved that hadn't been done before was releasing their first 3 singles, and each of those singles getting to number 1 in the UK charts, and that wouldn't be achieved again for another 20 years, and that was Frankie Goes to Hollywood that then achieved it afterwards. And interestingly, the 4th single that they released got to number 2 in the charts because they were beaten to top spot by the Searchers. So they almost made it 4 in a row. So they had a massive impact on the industry. They also had another really successful track called Ferry Cross the Mersey. So those first 3 singles were How Do You Do It, I Like It, and this song, You'll Never Walk Alone. And the first track, How Do You Do It, that was also recorded by the Beatles at the time, but they didn't want to release that as a single. They asked if they could do one of their own songs, which turned out to be Love Me Do. And it's interesting because you can go on YouTube and have a listen to the Beatles version of How Do You Do It. Love Me Do actually got to number 1 in the US charts, so it wasn't that bad a song at all, and probably was the right choice. But talking about the USA and Gerry and the Pacemakers, because they had a track called Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying, and that got to number 4 in the US charts. So they did have an impact over in the USA, but because they weren't around for particularly long, in 1964 they had that hit. In 1965 they made a movie called Ferry Cross the Mersey, and it was very similar in terms of what the Beatles were doing at the time. But unfortunately, in 1966 is the year that Gerry and the Pacemakers disbanded. I don't want this video to go on for too long, but just a little fact to finish. Gerry and the Pacemakers were originally called Gerry and the Mars Bars, but the Mars company put in a complaint and asked them to change their band name. Anyway, a fantastic live performance here of an epic anthem that will go on for the rest of time around the world in sports stadiums with thousands and thousands of people singing this together. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Right.